Now these troops came in and they stormed the Temple of Nana in Ur and stole the relics out of there. Now, do you think there's something bigger to this picture when we are given license to loot the ancient temples? Okay, go on. Well, the dome is a symbol of the goddess. So when you see the dome, you'll find that it will be direct relationship to a phallus, which would be on UT campus, the clock tower. Of course, we have the fish people with Columbia, the clock tower, and the phallus. So what do I think of when I'm sitting out there looking at Columbia standing there as she gazes out at herself and all the different art incarnations? Well, I think of the Freemasons. They put her there. And as you can see, the Freemasons have a strong allegiance to Babylon. They don't believe it's the year 2006. For them, it's the year 6006. For the Anno Lucius calendar. It's ancient Babylonian calendar. And we know the Masons incorporate their symbolism into the buildings that they make, just like the ancient Egyptians used to do. So they have their symbols coded in, and it's up to us to decipher what they might mean. So when we look at another phallus, and we find that there is the symbolism embedded in the wall there, and you'll see that we have Venus and Mercury. Well, two Masonic researchers, Knight and Lomas, have found a connection between Mercury and Venus, and they call it the Shekinah. They have found that when Mercury meets Venus before the rising sun in a conjunction, that this light, or this symbol, means greatness is going to occur. They actually believe that the Shekinah was the symbol that the people followed to find Jesus. So could we be seeing symbols of Mercury and Venus because of the Masons' astrological use of the Mercury-Venus Shekinah connection? Is this why we called it Shekinah? But who is this goddess of the pentagram? Could this pentagram really be a symbol for her? So now on this picture, I actually drew the Dogon symbol for Sirius. I had never seen the symbol, but something in my consciousness told me to draw this. I had a very conscious thought about it. And I drew it and said, well, that's not very cool, but I put it on all of them anyway. Only 25 years later to come back and find that it's a symbol for Sirius. And then to find the craft right there in the middle. Soon I'll decipher that lizard, and we might find out what the truth is about Draco. As you see here, the symbol on NASA is the blazing star, a pentagram with the rays around it, which is the same symbol that the Dogon use. Now this very symbol, and when this one stops, stop it there. This very symbol, I went here, this is the Philadelphia Lodge. This is the Temple of Benjamin Franklin. This is where a lot of your leaders come and worship and do strange rites and rituals, which we could talk more about. But what I found really interesting is that in each of the corners of the building is the blazing star here in the Egyptian room. And then in the middle is the Dogon symbol for Sirius. Are the Masons aware of this? They put it on their ceiling. Let's move on. We actually sat in the worshipful master's chair there. So is there a reality to these fish people that continually show up through history? And are they good? Or are they bad? We've had both stories, really. Certainly, Ishtar is not known as the nicest goddess. So who are these fish people, and why do we keep seeing them? And do they have a connection to our goddess in Sirius? Who is Columbia? Could she be Ishtar, Inanna? These ancient Sumerian depictions of the goddess here, showing her as a warrior and as a fish. Now you go look it up on my website. I've got this all linked on there, and you'll see all these connections between Inanna and Ishtar and Venus. And certainly Boeing has no problem showing you Sumerian architecture on Mars. But first they need to send up the phoenix, right? Back to the goddess symbolism. The phoenix is the birther of nations, the birther of... So the European Space Agency went ahead and they shot up their, believe it or not, Venus Express. Okay, the Venus Express is just now starting to send us back pictures of the Venus landscape. So now we know that the five-pointed star, the blazing star, and the goddess, Isis, are symbols of Sirius. But what about Orion? Oh, Isis, or this is Lilith, another version of the goddess. Now check this picture out. This has Isis standing there. Are those fish scales I see? Could I... and could we be talking about fish people from Sirius? Because Isis is the Egyptian symbol of Sirius. But Orion, the one symbolized by the phallus, Osiris. Osiris is a symbol of Orion. So here we have the goddess Isis with her torch, or Columbia, whichever you prefer, on the obelisk. The conjunction of Sirius and Orion has been told to us by Dr. Sala as the progenitors of the Earth, as the creating race. Orion is known as the hunter, as well, so was Nimrod of the Bible. So could this explain the constant use and absolute madness involved in crafting all of these symbols? Could this explain why we have a phallus in due relation to the capital breast? Because we are a planet that is ruled by beings from Sirius and Orion. Are those fish scales on Osiris? Now, the fish people, they didn't fade away. We have not seen 90% of our seas. Now here we have, oh wait, I missed that one. That is Enlil. He's sometimes known as Bel. He's also known as Ea. And he's depicted as having a fish head with human body. Could this be the purpose behind the Pope's hat? Could the Pope be in an unholy allegiance with the fish people? Is that why the Vatican has a massive store underneath the Vatican that has watching the Hubble and watching outer space? And could these fish people have come to this planet in ancient craft, and hold that one a second, Shag, and generated human beings on this planet in their labs? Now, this picture has been around for 5,000 years. We never could understand. Could it be that they are showing us that they genetically crafted us to be their worker slaves? Now, the interesting thing to note, the difference between apes and humans. Webbed fingers. Humans swim. Humans actually have webbed fingers, webbed toes. Our hair flows with water. Apes, nope. Apes won't jump in the water. Apes won't get anywhere near the water. There's a big difference between apes and humans, and it has to do with aquatic beings. All right, move on. So I've always had an interest in the goddesses. Now here we have the, wait, go back, well, the Temple of Hatshepsut. Yeah, go back to that for a second if you can. The Temple of Hatshepsut is very interesting because, you know, it was crafted, well, millennia ago. Can you not back that up? Yeah. And it is said to have been built by Imhotep. And it is actually crafted out of the cliff and constructed right into the mountainside. Now, I don't know. Are these backwater people? Doesn't seem like it to me. All right, move on, Shag. No, these guys, they build in this grand style. Now, this is the Temple of Hathor, another goddess. Now, they were held very high regard. Now, Hathor, keep going. Hathor was known as a cow goddess. Right? She's also been connected with Isis on certain levels. Just like El, see? So, yeah, you're starting to see the picture here? We've got our goddess with her fallen angel wings. She's carrying the torch, being drawn forward by fish people. And then just to her left, a pentagram. Of course, in Texas, we're used to seeing the pentagram quite often, but you ever wonder what it means? And the pentagram hung over Bethlehem for the Y2K celebration. I wonder what the Christians felt about that. And of course, not many people question this. They don't, well, who thinks about this stuff but me? And of course, they released the Columba doves. Because this whole celebration of Y2K was a series of rituals to Hades and the goddess. The Freemasons attempted to cap the Great Pyramid with gold. Hold that a second, Shag. Now, there's a little interesting side note. When the Freemasons were preparing to cap the Great Pyramid with gold on Y2K, most people were concerned about the computer meltdown. I myself kept saying, well, they're capping the Great Pyramid with gold. This to me meant a whole lot more than a computer meltdown. Because, on the dollar bill, we got the pyramid floating, and then it lands upon the, when the job is done. I can't seem to talk tonight. But the interesting thing was that Egyptian Flight 990, here, hold that there. Egyptian Flight 990 left out of LaGuardia and was to fly to the Giza Plateau prior to the capping of the Great Pyramid. But instead, it flew back and it picked up 33 Egyptian military at Wright-Patterson, and then it went down and picked up JP&L scientists at Edwards. And neither one of these military bases has ever had a public airliner land in their military base. And then they took off for the Giza Plateau before the capping. 33 Egyptian military and scientists from Jet Propulsion's laboratory. Well, the plane took a nosedive into the ocean. Now here, are we showing, and of course then they didn't cap the Great Pyramid with gold. Are we seeing here a ritual that symbolizes the river Styx?
What they're going to try to do in 2 minutes. The sun, as the Earth spins around, the sun is actually traveling across the sky at about a mile every 2.5 seconds. They are going to light the Thames on fire. It is called a river of fire. A
river of fire. That's what we call the river Styx. Now the Bee Gees. Hold on a sec. The Bee Gees, I couldn't figure out why the Bee Gees were all in this thing, and then until I realized that they were in Sunrise, Florida. Yeah. All right. Go on. And Clinton announced,
it is a rising sun.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean? We're talking about the rising sun. We're talking about the Shekinah. We're talking about Orion and Osiris. Talking about Sirius and Columbia.
Midnight has come.
The Brotherhoods ignited their phallus. Freemasons crafted those things. Freemasons crafted these things. What do you think they mean by it? Now, in England, they only had Old Ben. They only had the male representation. Because I think America was the goddess, and they were the male Osiris. But so then they built the Millennial Dome to have the feminine version right across the water from where they were. Because every good king deserves his queen. Right? Cow goddess, yes. So from the capital breast, straight on to the phallus, because every goddess needs her phallus. Perhaps. There's some people going, I don't know about that. So here you see we have the five-pointed star on Benedict Hall, and the five-pointed star is connected to Venus, because Venus actually makes a 5-pointed star every 8 years when viewed from Earth. It makes a perfect 5-pointed star. But Venus is also, well, sometimes it's known as the morning star, and sometimes as the evening star. But Venus is also symbolized by the shell. So this will explain to you why Texaco and shell. So here at the Statue of Columbia, just in case you thought the pentagram was too normal, there's the shell of Venus, just to her other side.
Let the brother receive the light.
The Masons call it receiving the light. We're going to talk a little more about this movie on the next clip. This is from hell. So the candidate stands in the embrace of the 5 points of fellowship as the worshipful master directs his gaze to a 5-pointed star standing between the 2 towers of Jachin and Boaz, and behind him a skull and bones. He is told to look to the 2 columns in the 5-pointed star and know that these are a symbol of Venus, the star of the morning. She's known as the eye goddess. Interestingly, ayin in Hebrew, and this all goes back to Hebrew, is the devil card. In the Bible, the star of the morning is Lucifer. Sometimes it's put as son of the morning, star of the morning. And you see here the definition of son of the morning, star of the morning clearly signifies a bright star and is most likely what we call the morning star, Venus. So Lucifer is Venus. Now, a friction match in the dictionary is a Lucifer. And then notice the oblong square. Wait, go back. Sorry. The oblong square, of course, is one of their main symbols. It's the position that they put their feet in when standing before the worshipful master. But the connection between Lucifer and Satan only happened in Paradise Lost, in Dante's Inferno, in Milton's Paradise Lost. This is where we got the connection between Lucifer and Venus, or Lucifer and Satan. Never in the Bible is Lucifer ever connected with Satan. All right, let's move on. This here is a Lucifer factory. Now, Phoenix Pictures might give us a bit of a clue. Now, hold that a second, Shag. Let me just tell you, Phoenix Pictures makes movies about child labor camps starring Sigourney Weaver. All right, they called it Holes. Cloning, The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nazi Love, which is The Apt Pupil, written by Stephen King. And all of these I have shown to you before. Well, at least, I've shown you Stephen King is definitely a brother. So Phoenix Pictures, let's look at their logo and see if we can decipher what they're cloning. Nazi Love, child labor camps. So Phoenix shows us, in their logo, they strike a Lucifer, which becomes the sun low on the horizon, because it is a rising sun. And it boils up into the fiery phoenix, which of course is the symbol of the goddess in the resurrection. So can we say Lucifer Pictures? Absolutely. That's exactly what they're trying to tell you. Universe created through good and bad, through dark and light. That was, it's the very epitome of Mercury, as above, so below. And now our goddess has one more symbol that we haven't gotten to yet. She's known by an owl. And now you understand Hooters. But you see in ancient Babylon, even Athena, or Minerva, constantly the goddess is depicted with an owl. Even Isis, shown with the owl. Our capital is surrounded by an owl. Mazda is symbolized by an owl. And in Austin, we have our own little special owl, the Frostbank Tower, which happens to have a pyramid up in its roof and was designed by the same guy who put the pyramid with 666 panes of glass in front of the Louvre. So perhaps our brothers at Bohemian Grove, our national leaders that do ritual sacrifice and perhaps real sacrifice out at Bohemian Grove, aren't worshiping. Are you rolling? Don't stop unless I tell you to stop. Molech. Molech is a bull god. Columbia, Isis, is the owl. Lucifer. But they're not talking. But there will be sacrifices. So what is she thinking as she's gazing out at herself on top of the Capitol breast, as she sees herself as the Frostbank Tower, this goddess of owl, this Lucifer, fallen angel? Could she be our symbol of the fish people from Sirius, to show our allegiance with the rulers of this planet? Could Madonna be a representation of this goddess Columbia, and later pass this on to Britney Spears? They certainly seem to epitomize what this goddess is all about. And they say at the end times, the whore of Babylon will return. Could we be seeing this? And is she from outer space? Well, hopefully I've given you some credible proof.
There's a goddess waiting to be discovered. New Venus disposables. Venus, reveal the goddess in you.
All right. Now, I put that Venus commercial up on there because, well, Gillette's symbol is a square. And, every single corporate logo that I use absolutely fits within this entire thing that I'm explaining to you through corporate logos in Columbia. Now, I hope to get Columbia done here in the next week or so and, get this a little more organized, get my script written. I was kind of winging it tonight. I wanted to look at it. This is the first time I've seen this new version, and so you all are getting to experience that with me. But, I sit out here and I see this goddess. I see these symbols. I see the pentagram in the shell. I see the ABC logo, the NBC logo, the CBS logo, and I realize that all of our connections of all of the symbolisms go back to Venus. And even these same researchers, Knights and Lomas, which I'll have these guys hooked up on my website by tomorrow, will show you that the connection between the shock and awe and the conjunction of Venus and Mercury as it rises before the sun. And they also tell us that America actually means Venus. I don't have that book with me, so I can't explain that further, but I'll make sure that it's all linked up there. So what is this Venus connection? What is the Venus Express going to find when it gets to, when it starts sending back these images? Because certainly the Cassini satellites sending back pictures of the Death Star were a bit of a shock. But the people just, it's not true. This doesn't affect our day-to-day life, even though it's all around us. Now what you're seeing here is videotape from the Columbia Space Shuttle of these craft. And look at them all. And what has happened here is that they were extending a tether to gather electricity out of space. But it actually gathered way too much electricity and it broke the tether. And it floated off and became that seemingly neon light that's floating down there. So that's actually a long tether. And then now the astronauts, they're kind of tripping out while they're watching this whole thing. Because all of a sudden, all these craft start flying around, Look at them all. They're all in our atmosphere. They're doing things out there. They're out there right now. This is just, maybe 6 years old, this footage. So, have they returned? Have the Nephilim returned? Are they preparing us for their arrival? Well, the ambassador of our extraterrestrial gods already speaks before Congress openly about this, claims to be cloning humans, and then our Mason leaders are all embedding the code within all the architecture around us. If I can get around this country and get all of it filmed for you, I'm going to try and do that this summer. Because the constant showing of Venus and Mercury, of the hermaphrodite, all of these have absolute meaning, and it goes to outer space. But of course, we could have never seen any of this beforehand, because we didn't know about space travel. We didn't know about genetic manipulation. We couldn't have thought that men were flying in planes back in that time. History has been erased from us, and it continues to do so. If you guys are really worried about the gas prices and the heat, start checking into Tesla's technologies and see that in 1930 we already had an electric car that could run 90 miles an hour for days without ever using any sort of power whatsoever. It ran off of air, it just took it right out of the ether. So now they want to tell us that these craft have arrived and they're coming to save us from our evil selves, but when I look at civilization, I see that this has all been manufactured, that this whole setup has come to us from these extraterrestrials. And so now what is happening is they're working to devastate this planet to such a point that we have no hope but to turn to them for our survival.
Which is another name for Columbia, who is Jezebel, has been in bed with Jezebel the whole time. She is the god of America. We've been seduced and taught to eat things sacrificed unto idols. There she is on our Capitol building. That picture is too small. Let's see if this is a let's get a better one. But anyway, this is her, Jezebel. We've been, the whole time we've been in bed with Jezebel. Wholly seduced. Wholly seduced by Jezebel. I think, I think I've said about all I could really say about this. I think I've said just about all I could say about this, really. This is her, guys. This is Jezebel, burning as she were a lamp. What is that in her hand? You know what her names are? The mother of exiles. The mother of exiles. To be exiled is to be banished or kicked out of a place. That is her name, the mother of exiles. Her famous catchphrase is liberty enlightening the world. Burning as she were a lamp. This is wormwood. This is the star that fell from heaven. This is wormwood. Her torch is said to hold the imprisoned lightning. The whole time, guys, the whole time. This was never a Christian nation. Our capital was once called the territory of Columbia. The territory of Columbia. Not the place where Columbia hangs out. The territory of Columbia. And look at the way she stands on the earth. But anyway, like I said, I'm watering this message down. Thank you. God bless. Jesus bless.